Klay Thompson's now got a hamstring, and the way that they play offense, you can't play this Golden State offense with a strained hamstring. You just can't.
I wouldn't play him.
And you certainly can't play defense with a strained hamstring, especially against the guy that they usually task him with guarding, who is Kawhi Leonard.
Yep.
So this series it's got intrigue, and I don't know if you saw all this. Did you see all this box and one stuff?
Yeah, I just said that, the box and one.
So
it's brilliant. I mean, we used to do that in CYO.
Brilliant? Is it brilliant?
I think it's phenomenal. Yes.
I remember hearing. I never played basketball.
I got you.
BT knows the story, and if you don't know it, the short story is I didn't make the basketball team.
And I always laugh at the coach. He cut the only two black kids on the team, which you and I always joke about.
Right.
You and Rondé. What are you doing,
So
buddy?
we went and wrestled, and so I like basketball, but I never played it. So
Yep.
I don't know the core principles of the box and one, which is what you do when you have one star player that you have, literally one, to use your literally word again. Literally one guy you got to stop. We're going to box and one. That's what the Toronto Raptors and Nick Nurse decided to use against the Golden State Warriors. And I keep hearing this over and over. I'm like, what the heck? They mean the box and one. And why doesn't anybody else use this? Because you know what, BT? It worked to an extent. And
the Warriors weren't ready for it.
They weren't ready for it. Klay is obviously the primary. Steph Curry was the primary ball handler at this time. That's who they were boxing and wanting, somebody else. And he didn't score. He didn't score at all.
They didn't score a basket.
Agreed.
I think they were 0 for 6. I know they didn't score a basket when they deployed the box and one. I want to say 0 for 6 with at least 2 turnovers, but certainly no baskets.
Yes.
Whether it was 5 misses or 6, whatever.
Right.
They did not score a basket.
And the one that they did score was the Andre Iguodala dagger three-pointer at the end, which should have been picked off by Kawhi Leonard.
Correct.
So why don't more teams do this in the NBA?
I'll tell you, listen, I love, this is like old school CYO stuff right here. The first time I ever heard of the box and one, I was in the 5th grade.
Okay.
And my dad was coaching us.
Okay.
And we were playing against a kid who wound up playing Division I basketball from Flatbush, Mullins neighborhood. Great, really good player. Jimmy Schaefer. Schaefer, if you're watching, what's up, buddy? you know we bottled you up a little bit. Terrific player.
With the box and one?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, nice.
Best player in the neighborhood, for sure. Went on to play for Jay Wright at Hofstra before Jay Wright went to Villanova, right? Really good player. And the box and one, now, it's only going to work where you've got to have somebody quick enough to hang with the best player and perceptive enough, because you're really just, you're face guarding is what you're doing.
Yeah.
There's also a variable called the triangle and two, which is 2 guys on the best player. You can't do that in the NBA because there's just too many good guys. You could do that in CYO, and we did that. You'd have a little diamond in the middle of the paint because there's no zone, there's no defensive infractions, and you'd throw 2 guys to Jimmy Schaefer or this other kid, Andrew Amigo, who played at Lincoln behind Stephon Marbury.
Nice.
These were good guys. My dad could coach. So when I heard the way Nick Nurse introduced it, it's brilliant. And he said, hey, guys, anybody know about the box and one?
And none of them.
Not one of them knew.
They had no idea. So he had to draw it up.
He drew it up. It shows their aptitude to be able. Now, I don't know how you could be in your 20s, whether it's AAU, whether it's CYO, whether it's, PSAL, CHS. How do these 12 guys, how do they not know the box and one? And me, the big lump on my couch sitting there, I could actually draw diagrams of it.
You know why?
Why?
Because they grew up playing AAU basketball.
But they still played high school ball.
Yeah, but what was most important to them? It was AAU. And so what do you do in AAU? You know this better than anyone. You just go score.
Yeah.
You're going to play man-to-man.
But not the great high school programs. The great ones, Hurley in St. Anthony's?
Yeah.
If you didn't play defense, you didn't play second.
That's a good point.
I mean, are you kidding me? Some of these schools in Baltimore and Matter Day Out West, you're playing defense.
But are those guys? They're
not playing box and ones, though.
But are those the guys that are in the NBA now?
Well, yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
That's the question.
Listen, now you know that Steve Kerr will have a response for the box and one. So they've got it. Now the onus, and this is where it gets brilliant. It's really fun to watch this unravel. Nick Nurse needs to have a layer off of the box and one, anticipating what Steve Kerr will invariably react to as a great coach.
I'll give you, because what I can relate to, I'll give you what the NFL defensive coordinators do.
Okay.
So there's a defense called a bear defense. Everybody's heard of this if you know football at all. It's basically the guard, center, and guard are covered. Right? Guard, center, guard are covered. You have a defensive end on the left side. You have a defensive end on the right side, just kind of boxing everything. And then you have one of your linebackers come stand over the tight end. So he just head up on the tight end, right? It's called a bear defense. You have 2 backers in the well, right? And it's impossible to run the ball against that type of defense because your trappers, like the guys who pull and do it, they're all covered.
Okay.
Right? So nobody's free. And so you got to block the guy in front of you. So you can't pull and do any of these things. So it limits you what you can do offensively. And so as a defensive coach, you run the bear 5 times in a game. I'm just going to throw this out there 5 times. Maybe we'll have success. Maybe we could get, who knows, whatever. But you now force every team that watches that tape to say, oh, man, they play bear? Now we got to prepare for the bear. And so right now, Golden State and Steve Kerr are preparing for the box and 1.
Yep.
Is Nick Nurse going to run that a significant amount of time? I doubt it. But the fact that now the Steve Kerr has to prepare for it
takes time away from the other stuff.
It takes time away from all the other stuff. And especially considering that he's got to get all these guys who aren't used to playing heavy minutes ready to play heavy minutes.
I want to see a Boogie Cousins if his wheels are fresh. He played almost had a triple-double the other night. I mean, DeMarcus Cousins was terrific.
He was.
Does he still have that spring? He was dribbling a lot. I remember saying to my brother-in-law, we were down in Virginia, and I said, man, because a couple times he almost had picked off. To his credit, he didn't. But it was perilously close to him dribbling into traffic. I'm like, why is he handling the basketball 20 feet away?
Well, I think because
they forced him to.
Well, they forced him to, and because of the way that their injury, the lineup, Steve Kerr played 17 different lineup combinations, which is crazy to think about.
What's the absolute max variations for the amount of guys that dressed?
That's a good question. That's a very good question.
I would love to know that answer because 17 seems really high.
But he played 13 guys.
Yeah.
And so in some of these sets, Draymond can't be that point forward who gets the rebound because it's DeMarcus getting the rebound.
Sure.
Right? So DeMarcus gets the rebound. Usually that's Draymond getting that rebound when they're small. Now they have to play big because of Marc Gasol, right? So it's now Boogie or DeMarcus Cousins getting that rebound, and the role of that person is to bring the ball up the court. You see Draymond do it all the time.
Oh,
right?
it's a great skill set.
And he's just flying.
Yep.
Now DeMarcus Cousins, who probably has never done this, is trying to bring the ball up the court. So to his credit, you give him even more respect for the game that he had, given he was put in this uncomfortable type situation and played great. He really did. And
he was fantastic. He was a difference maker.
They don't win that. They win that game. And I'm not just talking about the offensive stats that you threw out, defensively as well.